Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is The Jeff Crilley Show. Welcome to my show. I don't know if these things are a blessing or a curse, because it seems like so many of us are absorbed in our phone that we're not aware of anything. Situational awareness, what's that? Sometimes we'll bump into a wall because we're too busy reading our phone. To talk about situational awareness is Brian Searcy. He is the president of the Paratus Group. Thank you for coming on the show.
Jeff, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we've known each other for some time now.
We have.
Retired Air Force colonel, and thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
So you have reinvented yourself in the last couple years. The Paratus Group, first of all, what does it mean? It's a great name.
Well, Paratus in Latin stands for prepare, and that's what we're trying to do at the Paratus Group. A lot of companies that are in the safety and security space, if they're not selling the technology, they're going in and trying to teach somebody how to react in a crisis situation. But nobody is really teaching people how to try and prevent things from happening or to remove themselves from happening. Plus, we also hear all the time about the threat is active shooter, active shooter, active shooter, but that is a small percentage of what might actually happen. When you look at all the threats that are out there, you've got human trafficking, you've got sexual harassment, you've got bullying, robbery. Right now, vandalism is up and domestic violence is up. So those threats don't go away. They affect all of us. So the ability to be able to know what they are, but then to have that situational awareness to identify it, like I said, to try and prevent it, or to keep yourself from putting yourself in a situation where you could be a victim, is what we focus on.
So who hires you? Is it churches? Is it schools? Is it organizations? Is it buildings like this one?
All of the above. To include, we have programs for parents, high school students, and college students. The focus of the Paratus Group is to allow a new way to learn situational awareness so we all can take responsibility for our safety, and then when we do that, we can take responsibility for the safety of our communities. Most companies and most folks that are out there use a traditional type training. They'll give you a 2 or 4 hour class, and now you're supposed to know how to go and do that. While the Paratus Group will come in and do that initial introduction, we back that up with a micro e-learning program so that you learn and develop your own mindset and behavior of what situational awareness is. So that's how you live your life. So you're prepared and not panicked. This pandemic that we're going through is a perfect example of how people had not prepared for something like this to happen. So when they weren't prepared, they panicked and made decisions out of fear potentially.
Yes, and you're a great speaker. We're going to run some video of you in front of an audience. These days, what are you most called on to talk about?
Yeah, it's focusing on the situational awareness, and that's the big piece. And then like I mentioned already, we focus on prevention and removing somebody. When an event happens, no matter what it is, whether it's human trafficking or an active shooter, that's what we call the bang. The Paratus Group likes to teach as far left of bang as possible how to have situational awareness so that you can be prepared and, again, prevent it from happening or keep yourself from becoming a victim. Yes. But when you also do that, you are also preparing yourself to make critical decisions under stress. God forbid something does happen.
Well, I want to brag on you because you've become very popular with the media. In fact, we've got a clip of you on Fox News Channel, and you were commenting on Colin Kaepernick. What was the controversy at the time? Do you remember?
It was a conversation about whether, the First Amendment and everybody talking about leadership and the conflicts that were going on was the true way to try and deal with it. And my point was that we all are allowed to have our own perspective. We're all allowed to have our own opinions, and let's have a conversation about what the right way to do things is instead of becoming polarized and having the left against the right or, whatever term you want to use. Yes. Let's figure out and make decisions based on what's right. And that's a big part of situational awareness as well. I don't tell people that this is what you're going to do in a situation. I can't do that, Jeff, because your skills are different than mine. Your perspective is different than mine. I have to teach you how to develop your own situational awareness so that you can take ownership of it, so that you can use it anytime you potentially feel a threat, so that you can make decisions that your abilities will be able to allow you to follow through on.
Well, not only are you a great guest as you are on my show, you're a great host. We got some video from your podcast. Tell everybody about the podcast and why you decided to launch it.
Yeah, so I started the podcast when I had my first company, Main Street Pilot, and we were talking about the development of personal skills. And those are absolutely critical when it comes to situational awareness as well. And I'm glad you bring that up because I'm thinking about doing it again.
Awesome.
Situational awareness, I don't like to say that I want people to recognize me as an expert because none of us are really experts. But I know a lot about what it takes to develop situational awareness so we can take responsibility for our own safety. And one of the key foundations of what the Paratus Group is trying to do is to educate people about how important this is. Just like the lack of development of personal skills today, which is almost 78% of the kids coming out of high school don't have personal skills.
Yes.
About the same amount, if not higher, have no idea what situational awareness is. You talked at the very beginning of our segment about that phone and how it's become a tool that keeps us from paying attention to what's going on around us.
Yes.
We need to educate people what situational awareness is, how you develop that mindset, so again, they can take responsibility for their own safety and not be a victim.
Well, I think if anything good came from the pandemic, it really woke everybody up. I mean, I think we all, to some degree, were sleepwalking through life, and we were aware of germs, but we didn't really do anything about it. And certainly, the awareness that you could catch a disease that could kill you caused people to wake up. I mean, do you see good things coming from the pandemic?
Right, and you just identified an opportunity. But what we now have to do is make sure we don't do what we've done after every other thing that's ever happened before and just go back to how life was, the old normal. You hear people talk about today what the new normal is going to look like. Well, having situational awareness, becoming prepared so that you're not panicked, and developing these skills is what's going to be necessary so that if something like this does happen again, whether it's another pandemic or another crisis that our country and the world faces, that we have the ability to think critically. We've thought about what we might do, we've prepared for what we might do so that we can stay calm and make decisions based on fact and critical thinking and not based on fear.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to put your website up. Paratus.group is your website. Get a hold of Brian Searcy, great guy, a great leader. Thank you so much for your service and for your words of wisdom.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.